Have you ever paused for a moment and really asked yourself, what if your thoughts could shape reality? What if hidden beneath the surface of everyday routine lay a power so profound, so accessible, that it could transform the very fabric of your life? What if that power wasn't some distant divine intervention or external force, but something within you all along? This isn't fantasy. It isn't wishful thinking. It's the beginning of a shift in how you see the world and your place in it. See, most people live bound to what their senses tell them. They wake up, check the news, answer calls, go to work, talk about their problems, respond to events, and return home, believing everything outside them is fixed and absolute. Facts, they say, are facts, and you can't change facts. But what if I told you that reality itself, yes, the one you're living, is far more malleable than you've ever believed? That everything around you, from the job you have, to the home you live in, from the relationships you experience, to the very opportunities, or lack thereof, all of it is responding to something powerful and often overlooked: imagination. Now, before you dismiss this as whimsical or naive, stay with me. This isn't about daydreams or fantasies. This is about deliberate, conscious creation. Because your imagination isn't just a place you escape to. It's a tool, a generator, a mold-shaping force that brings intangible thought into concrete form. Let's break it down. Imagine a man who lives his life responding only to what he sees and hears. His imagination is chained, suppressed, or labeled as impractical. He believes things are the way they are, because that's how they've always been. He's forgotten, or perhaps never realized, that what he perceives is just one possibility among many. Now imagine someone else. This person begins to explore what lies beyond the surface. They don't ignore facts, but they no longer bow to them. They learn to hold a new image, a vision of how life could be, not just in their mind, but in their feelings, in their being. They experience it internally before it becomes external, and somehow it does. There was once a young woman, barely 7, Christmas Eve, cold rain, tapping the windows of a crowded streetcar, laughter from strangers surrounding her, but she feels none of it. She's grieving. Her father had passed that year. She's working as a waitress just to survive. Her dreams, dormant. Her reality, grim. But here's where it changes. In the midst of tears and rain, she does something extraordinary. Holding the pole on the streetcar, instead of sinking into despair, she lifts herself, by sheer imaginative will, into another place. She tells herself, the rain isn't rain, but ocean spray. The tears aren't sorrow, but the salt from sea air. And this isn't a San Diego streetcar, but the deck of a ship approaching a distant beautiful land. She wasn't escaping, she was creating. And within days, a letter arrived. Money left to her by an aunt, long gone, suddenly available. Within a month, she was actually on that ship, sailing through that sea, standing under that same misty sky she had once imagined. Coincidence, or something else? That's what we're exploring. Imagination, when felt as real, has the power to change the course of events. Not metaphorically, literally. And this isn't just a story. It's a method, a practice. Let's get practical. Say you want a new job, or maybe a complete career shift. Start not with resumes or job boards, but in your mind. Build it vividly. Feel the desk beneath your fingers, the conversations you'd have, the projects you'd handle. Don't think of it. Think from it. Live in the experience before it shows up. Or say you're longing for a relationship, a true connection. Instead of lamenting loneliness, go within. Feel the presence of that person. Imagine the sound of their voice, the comfort of shared silence. Feel their hand in yours, as though it's there now. The subconscious mind doesn't differentiate between what's real and what's vividly imagined. Or maybe it's a home. You're stuck in a small apartment, but you dream of space, light, and comfort. Don't focus on how far away it seems. Picture it. Walk through its rooms at night, in your imagination. Feel the wooden floor beneath your feet. Smell the fresh paint. Place objects where you want them. Hear yourself turning the key in the lock. Let that feeling settle in your bones as you drift off to sleep. Because here's the truth. Your imagination is not idle play. It's creative action. Let me share something even deeper. When you fall asleep in the emotional state of your wish fulfilled, something stirs beneath the surface. The rational mind sleeps, but the subconscious goes to work. It accepts your assumption as reality and begins aligning your world with it. Paths open. People show up. Circumstances shift. Not by magic, by design. Here's what you do. First, be clear. Vagueness won't help you here. What exactly do you want? Clarity is power. Don't say I want to be rich. Say I want to wake up in a home I love, with a job that fulfills me, earning X amount per month. Be detailed. Next, construct a scene, a single scene, that would naturally happen after your desire is fulfilled. Just one. If it's a new car, maybe it's your friend complimenting it. If it's a book deal, maybe it's holding the first printed copy in your hand. Make it as real as you can. What do you hear? What do you see? Where are you? Now replay that scene, nightly as you fall asleep. But don't just see it. Feel it. Feel the weight of the book, the smell of the leather seats, the joy, the pride. Let it become real, not just visually, but emotionally. And here's the secret ingredient. Persist. Do it every night, not just once or twice, until it feels more natural to imagine your new reality than to accept the old one. At some point, something will shift. You'll start noticing things, subtle changes, coincidences, nudges. The world around you begins to echo the world, but beware, doubt will come knocking. That inner voice will whisper, "This is silly. You're pretending." That's okay. Let it whisper. But don't open the door. Keep imagining. Keep feeling. Because eventually, something will give. Your world will change. Let me share another story. This one's older, hidden in the folds of ancient texts. There's a beautiful verse in what's known as the Song of Solomon. It says, "By night on my bed, I sought him whom my soul loveth. I found him, and I would not let him go, until I brought him into my mother's house." On the surface, it sounds like poetry about lovers. But if you read deeper, it's not about romance. It's about union, about bringing the object of your desire, be it love, success, or healing, into the very core of your being, into the place where you were created, into the womb of imagination. It's saying find your desire in imagination, then hold on to it. Don't let go. Let it become part of your inner world, until it births into your outer one. You see, you were never meant to just reflect life. You were meant to shape it. And when you begin to live from this truth, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop being a product of your environment and become the environment's influence. That's power. But here's something to consider. Many people begin this journey with excitement, but quickly retreat. When they don't see immediate results, they go back to logic, to senses, to facts. But imagination doesn't work like a vending machine. It's not about speed. It's about alignment, persistence, faith. When you water a seed, you don't dig it up every morning to check if it sprouted. You trust the process. The same goes here. If you hold the feeling long enough, the world must conform. That's not philosophy. That's a law. Now let's get even more grounded. If you're seeking a partner, for instance, don't scroll dating apps in despair. Instead, embody the feeling of being loved, valued, adored. Walk with that energy. Smile with that knowing. You'll be surprised how the world responds. The right people will begin appearing, not because you chased them, but because you became a magnet. If you want to heal, don't just focus on symptoms. Visualize yourself well. Feel vitality surging through you. Hear your doctor saying, "You're all clear." See yourself climbing stairs with ease, laughing, living. Let that vision become your new identity. If you want wealth, stop telling stories of lack. Begin telling stories, internally, of abundance. Walk through shops, as though you have money to spend. Feel ease, not tension. Wealth begins in consciousness. Let me be clear. This is not pretending. This is choosing a new state of being. There are states all around us, like rooms in a vast mansion. At any time, you can walk from one room to another, from despair to hope, from lack to abundance, from loneliness to connection. But you must choose, and that choice happens in imagination. You don't wait for the world to change. You change the world within. Then the outer catches up. Most of us were never taught this. We were taught to wait, to respond, to settle. But that's not your only option. You can step into the driver's seat. You can choose your state, and live from it, no matter what current facts say. Because facts change. But your inner world, that's where true change begins. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what do I truly want? Then feel it as though it's already yours. Not with desperation, but with certainty. Sleep in that feeling. Wake in that feeling. Carry it through your day. Let it guide your choices, shape your thoughts, and direct your energy. And watch slowly at first. Then suddenly, as life rearranges itself to match the world you dared to imagine. Because the world doesn't give you what you wish for. It gives you what you believe is already yours. You know, there's something almost sacred that happens when we stop chasing life and start shaping it from within. When I first learned about this, I was just like anyone else, living on the outside, reacting to events, dreaming about possibilities, but never truly believing they could unfold. That changed the moment someone told me something that shook the ground beneath my understanding. He said the key figure in those spiritual texts I'd read all my life, the so-called savior, the central force of transformation, was not some distant being. It was my imagination, not metaphorically, literally. The mansion as described in those verses, not a golden castle in the sky, but a state of being, a desire fully felt, a dream held so vividly that it begins to exist even before you can touch it. This wasn't just theory. I had to know if it worked. So I put it to the test. At the time, I wanted more than anything to visit my family in Barbados. The problem, I had no money. None. I was in New York, locked in winter, and financially it was impossible. But that night, I did something different. Instead of lying in bed worried, or resigned, I imagined that I was no longer in New York, but already in Barbados, specifically in my father's house, where I had spent many childhood nights. I didn't just picture it, I felt it. I heard the creaking of the wooden floors. I smelled the ocean salt, drifting in through the open shutters. I mentally placed my head on the same old pillow, and I told myself, this is where I am. Every night, for a month I did this, and then it happened. Out of the blue, a letter arrived from my family. They had arranged everything, and invited me to come home and spend the winter, all expenses covered. Just like that, I was sailing for Barbados, not knowing how it all aligned so perfectly. But somewhere inside, I did know, because I had already lived it. That moment was a turning point. From then on, I knew with absolute certainty that the power to change my world lived within me. And not just within me, but within anyone willing to try. Here's the strange part. When it happens, when the imagined becomes real, it feels so natural, so seamless, that your rational mind tries to steal the credit. Oh, it would have happened anyway, it says. But deep down, you know better. You know what you did. You summoned it, and it doesn't stop there. Every time I fully embraced that inner mood, when I gave life to that imaginal scene with real emotion and detail, it never failed me. Never. I've lived it over and over, in countless ways. The formula is beautifully simple. First, be clear about what you want. Not a vague hope, but a defined desire. Once you know it, you must move from thinking of it to thinking from it. That's the secret. Let's say you're sitting in a chair in one city, but want to be living in another. How do you bridge that distance? Using only your inner world, imagination. You see, your mind has the extraordinary ability to shift your perspective. When you begin to observe the world, not from where your body is, but from where your desire lives, everything changes. You place yourself there, in spirit. You begin to see the world from that spot, not just toward it. You look out from it. You hear what you would hear there. You sense what would be around you. And when you observe your imagined world, from within that new space, when it begins to feel like home, you are truly there. That's how you know it's working. When your perception shifts, even slightly, you've moved. The body might still be here, but the real you, the one who creates, the one who feels and believes and imagines, that self is already living your future. And what you claim in imagination, you will inevitably experience in reality. I've proven it again and again. Here's something you can do starting tonight. Before you sleep, replay your day, not as it happened, but as you wish it had happened. Let's say something upset you, or you got disappointing news. Instead of falling asleep with that weight, mentally rewrite the scene. Change the outcome. If you got a letter you didn't want, imagine reading the letter you did want. If the letter never came, picture one arriving, and bringing the exact words you've been hoping to hear. And don't just picture it. Feel it, hold it, smile at it. That feeling you get, that joy, that satisfaction, that's the energy that reshapes tomorrow. Let me share an example. There was a woman who used to attend my talks. She had listened to my thoughts on revision many times, but had never tried it herself. Then one day, she finally did. You see, she had been estranged from her daughter-in-law for 2 years, no contact. And during that time, she had sent her grandson over 24 gifts, birthdays, holidays, little notes, all unanswered, no acknowledgements, no gratitude, just silence. But instead of growing bitter, she decided to try the technique. Each night, before falling asleep, she imagined receiving 2 heartfelt letters, one from her grandson, and one from her daughter-in-law. In her mind, she opened them, felt the paper, read the kind words, and smiled with relief. She imagined love, reconciliation, warmth. She did this for 7 nights. On the 8th day, a real letter arrived. Inside, 2 letters, one from her grandson, one from her daughter-in-law, expressing love, wondering why she hadn't visited, thanking her for her gifts. They were nearly identical to the letters she had imagined. Coincidence, or proof? Revision works not because it changes the past, but because it reshapes your energy, your belief, and your identity in the present. And from that new identity, a new future emerges. You can apply this to anything: health, relationships, opportunities. Suppose you're facing a health challenge. Instead of dwelling on the pain, imagine your friend looking at you and saying, "You look amazing," and you smiling, and saying, "I feel better than ever." Let that imagined moment become your emotional anchor. Or maybe your foot is injured. Mentally rehearse yourself walking freely, dancing, running, climbing stairs. Do it repeatedly, not once, not twice, but over and over, until it feels less like pretend, and more like memory. Because what you rehearse internally, you bring to life externally, and the more attention you give it, the more real it becomes. That's the secret: sustained attention, not scattered, not doubtful, but focused, immersive, alive. This kind of practice doesn't just bring results. It sharpens your awareness. It awakens your senses. You begin to experience an expansion, not just of imagination, but of possibility. And with that expansion comes a deep truth. The life you want, the abundance, the joy, the fulfillment, is not far off in the distance. It's already here, waiting to be accepted. But you can't accept it with logic. You accept it through imagination, because imagination is your direct link to creation. It's how you plant seeds in the invisible realm, which later bloom in the physical. Persistence in this inner vision, centered in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is the only path that guarantees the manifestation of your goals. There are no shortcuts, no tricks, just conscious creation. Every stage of human growth, every invention, every work of art, every revolution, has come from someone's ability to imagine what wasn't there yet, and live from it until it arrived. Even poets and mystics have known this truth. William Blake said, "All you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination." He wasn't being poetic, he was being precise. Everything you see, your job, your relationships, your challenges, your successes, is a reflection of your inner world. Your imagination is not a side tool, it is the cause. So I invite you to use it consciously. Don't drift through life, waiting for things to change. Create the change from within. Before you sleep, revise your day, rehearse your dreams, imagine better outcomes,
Walk in your new reality, even if only in your mind. Feel it, embody it, and return to it daily. Because what you repeat, you become, and what you believe, you receive. If you've ever doubted whether you had control over your destiny, let this be the moment you reclaim that control, not by force, not by effort, but by imagination, a force more potent than any strategy, more transformative than any circumstance. The future is not written in stone, it's sculpted in thought. Start shaping yours, tonight.